Hello everyone, and in case I don't get another video out before Christmas, Merry Christmas! I probably sound funny, or at least I do to my own ears, and that's because I got sick again. What? I was sick last month! This is so unfair. Today, we're going to make Santa hats for our action figures and toys. And I know how some of you break out in hives whenever I mention we're going to sew anything, so I will be including an alternate way of making these hats using glue. The materials you will need for this project are felt or fleece, material that has a little bit of stretch to it. I'm using a knit material that you can find at Hobby Lobby or JoAnn Fabrics. JoAnn's has a larger selection of colors. I like using knits because they don't fray unlike most fabrics in the fabric store. Glue, I'm using tacky glue today. Paper, pencil, scissors, ruler, plastic wrap, elastic band, and then some optional materials may make your life easier, like a needle and thread, pom-poms, or I guess these are just called poms. Always thought they were pom-poms. Apparently, Walmart just sells poms without the pom. And a compass. We're going to start off with a Marvel Legends 6-inch Spider-Man as our first model. We need to measure how big his head is, and I do this by taking a small strip of paper and line it up to where I would like the bottom of the hat to rest, and I mark that off. I then cut off the end of the strip. You can use this same method for other toy lines. It gets trickier when the ears stick out more. The Sylvanian Family fox isn't too bad, but My Little Pony's Pinkie Pie has much larger ears. For Pinkie, I measure around the widest part of her head where the hat will have to fit over. In this case, it's right around the middle of her ears. Then I take another strip of paper and mark off how far it is from the ends of her ears to the place where I think the edge of the hat should rest. Now let's go back to Spider-Man. I take this strip of paper where I measured the circumference of his head, and I fold that strip of paper in half. Then on some scrap paper, I make a mark on my paper on either side of the strip. Next, I measure how far the two marks are from each other and place a mark halfway in between the two of them. Then I'm going to draw a straight line up from this new mark. For Spider-Man, I'm going to make the line 5 centimeters long. That will be how long or how tall my hat will be. I cut out my paper pattern. Now, for the first hat I made, I just traced 2 of this pattern on my fabric, but I have a new method that will save us some sewing or gluing later on. You take the paper triangle that you just cut out and trace around it once on your paper, and then line up one of the edges of the traced triangle with a triangle pattern and trace it again. Next, I'm going to use my compass to draw an arc connecting the 2 ends of the triangles so that the bottom of my hat will have a smooth edge. If you don't have a compass, you can just draw the curve yourself freehand with a pencil. Then you cut out this new triangle. See? Now we have a larger triangle with a rounded base where we will only need to sew or glue one of the sides instead of 2. For toys with big ears, like my Pinkie Pie, I'm going to have to modify my pattern a bit. I start off by folding my strip of paper that is the circumference of the widest part of Pinkie's head, which was around her ears, and I make the 2 marks on my paper just like before, and find the central point in between them, and draw a line in the middle that is 7 centimeters long this time. Now we need to leave some room for those ears. Believe me, I know. I've already made one fail of a hat for Pinkie already, and it doesn't fit at all. So this time, I'm going to take my strip of paper that I measured her ears, and I make a mark on my paper that is above my 2 previous marks on the edges. This is to let me know that I can't start my slope to make the triangle at the bottom like I had before, or the hat won't fit. Instead, I start the slope of my triangle at the upper marks, and then draw in the triangle. I cut the triangle out, trace around it twice just like before to make a bigger pattern. Then I use the compass to draw an arc to make a curve at the bottom. This pattern will result in the hat being a little looser on Pinky than I'd like, but hey, at least it fits over her ears and hair this time. Now we'll move back to the Spidey pattern, but from here on out, the instructions will be the same, no matter what toy you're making a hat for. Trace around your new, larger pattern on your stretchy fabric. At Hobby Lobby, the fabric I'm using is called Traveler's Knit, and at JoAnn's they have several varieties, but I think the one I picked up is So Classics Knit Interlock Fabric. I'll have links to the supplies I use in the video description. I like using fabric with some stretch to it because it's more forgiving if I don't get the hat sized just right. As long as I don't make it way too small, I can make it fit on the toy's head. After the pattern is traced, I cut it out. Now I double check to make sure that the side with my pencil marks is face down, and I fold my fabric in half. I'm going to sew along this edge right here, starting at the curved bottom and making my way up to the pointy tip. You can also glue this edge too, but you will get a stronger hold with sewing. Flip the hat inside out so that the ugly seam will now be hidden on the inside. Next, we take Spidey and wrap the plastic around his head and secure it with a rubber band around his neck. Don't worry, he's fine. Spiders don't need oxygen to live. Oh, they do? Well, I guess we better hurry then. I then take my tacky glue and place a line of glue around Spidey's head where I think the bottom of the hat should rest. It's like he's getting a crown out of glue. Then I gently stretch the hat to fit over Spidey's head until it sits on top of the glue crown. I try to make sure that the seam where the two edges of the fabric meet is in the back. And it kind of looks like a lawn gnome hat. What happens when a man who is bit by a radioactive spider is then bit by a radioactive gnome? Spider gnome! While that is drying, we can move on to make the trim for the edge of the hat. You can either use fleece or felt for this. Just cut a narrow strip and apply some tacky glue to one side. Start applying the strip to the edge of the hat, starting in the back where the seam is, and work your way around. Then cut off the excess. Now we need to make the little ball for the end of the hat. You can either cut a circle out of fleece or felt, or just glue a pom-pom to the end using the tacky glue. Now it kinda looks like a creepy clown hat. What happens when Spider-Man is bit by a radioactive clown? Kill it with Fireman! Just kidding. I'm not afraid of clowns, but I've never been crazy about them either. Just make me my puppy out of balloons and we're done here. In my opinion, balloon animals are clowns' only redeeming quality. Set your figure aside to dry for a few hours. After the glue is dry, you can remove the elastic and pull the hat and plastic wrap off your figure. With a gentle tug, the plastic wrap will come off the hat. Because of the dried glue, the bottom of the hat will be molded to fit on your figure's head securely. With smaller figures, the hat may like to stand straight up like creepy clown style and not fold over like Santa style. We can easily fix this by either gluing it down or securing the end of the hat to the side with just one stitch. And now our Santa hat is done. I'm sure your hats will turn out better than mine because, well, I went a little crazy Rainbow Bright style with my hats. That tends to happen around here. Have you seen my Hawkeye arrows? Yeah. And that's it today, Zubbanians. I'll try to work in one more Venom Christmas project before Christmas, but, well, no guarantees. If you're new here, feel free to check out the other things on my channel to see if you might be interested in subscribing. And thanks for watching.